Welcome to Talking Giants, presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick. And on our 600th episode, the New York Giants and Saquon Barkley did not reach a contract extension. They passed the 4 o'clock deadline, and the only way for Saquon Barkley to play for the Giants this year is on the franchise tag of $10.1 million, which two other running backs, and Josh Jacobs and Tony Pollard, are in the same exact situation. Justin, we talked about it from day one of the offseason, going through, pre-Daniel Jones extension, that as much as it doesn't make you feel the best, this was the best option for the New York Giants. They get a player who has a less of an average annual value of contract than they were offering him in $13 million, with less risk, and you still get to have him on this team. And we'll talk about it from every angle, but there is no doubt in my mind that Saquon Barkley will play for the New York Giants this season. He could sit out, but there's no precedent for that. Everyone brings up Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell played a year on the franchise tag in 2017. And guess what? He put up over 1,900 yards that year and did pretty damn well before the year he sat out. So let's get into it. But what were your initial reactions? I mean, it was surprising to see that it didn't get done because Saquon Barkley is just turning down money.
Yeah, well, is he? Like, what do we know? And that's part of...
He was offered $22.1 million guaranteed, reporting the Ryan Dunleavy and other sources. That's 2 franchise tags.
And that was
unless they don't tag him next year and he goes and gets a big deal from another team, he is turning down money. That's the only positive for Saquon Barkley, is if he plays well, they don't tag him and he gets a big bag from someone else next year.
And that was on the table today.
That was on the table yesterday, according to Ryan Dunleavy, who reported that. So
okay.
I don't know why it'd be on the table yesterday and not today.
No, I don't know. And that's been part of the issue, is that, credit to our beat, hey, they've been putting out their reports on what they've been hearing. The lack of information has been apparent throughout this entire process. So I'm guarantee you, if you're on the side of the Giants and, hey, you should never pay a running back, you're saying that, hey, Saquon Barkley, you're looking kind of little, I don't want to say dumb, but you're looking kind of, what's going on?
There's no link in the Better Viewed on YouTube.
Oh no.
Well, keep going. I will.
There's, you're looking a little not smart for taking the money. And if you're on the side of the Giants should pay Saquon Barkley, then you're saying that the Giants, are not doing right by him, by a player that has done right by them in the past, right? So there's both sides of it. For me, I kind of got to a point today where the longer that it went, the longer that it seemed like if there was going to be a deal, it was going to be tremendously team-friendly. Like tremendously team-friendly. And we never got there. So I was like accepting the fact that it was going to be similar to Daniel Jones. We're at like that 358, that 359 mark. Maybe we were going to get a tweet about, Saquon Barkley accepts a deal and it's barely above the franchise tag marker for the next 2 years, right? I was kind of expecting that. And then lo and behold, Jordan Ronan and Adam Schefter almost tweeted at the same time at like 357, 358, that no deal will even be reached. But we still have there's still, at least for me, Bobby, and let me know if you have like this clarification, if you're putting your flag in the ground that it's either the Giants or Saquon Barkley that's, that didn't want to pull the trigger here. It's obviously maybe a little bit of both, but I'm of the belief that I don't know who necessarily it was that we kind of got here, why we kind of got here. Was it really the Giants? Or was it Saquon Barkley and just not being happy with that contract? I guess I lean a little bit towards Saquon.
I mean, he was offered money at the bye week. Every report that we've heard from every different source, whether it's with the team, beat reporters outside the team, has been they were offering him something that at least gave him $26 million through the first 2 years, right? And for Saquon Barkley, in his situation with his injury history, to me, turning that down multiple times was a bad decision move. He's literally, to me, throwing money away by not taking those deals when they were there. Were they the perfect deals you wanted? Yeah, but you know what? You weren't the perfect, back over the last 5 years. There's concern for him, and that's why in this conversation on running backs. I think it does get a little annoying the way people talk about running backs. I'm not part of the running backs don't matter crowd. But what I am part of is Saquon Barkley falls into the category that you should be worried about. 2018 played the full year, but even then he missed camp with an injury after that first preseason game. 2019 sprained his ankle, came back, didn't look the same, ended up having a solid productive year, but missed games. 2020 tore the ACL. 2021 missed games again with another ankle injury and looked horrible. I mean, he looked like the worst running back in the NFL. It was like, this guy doesn't even belong out there, how bad it was coming off the ACL, which is understandable, but still not bad. And then last year had a good year, but once he was dealing with that shoulder injury, was not the same exact player that he was the first 5 to 6 weeks of the 5 to 7 weeks of the season. So that's why I didn't want to give him a long-term contract. Like, Derrick Henry's contract has worked out for the Tennessee Titans. And don't share me, well, they didn't win a Super Bowl. Guess what? It's really damn hard to win a Super Bowl. It's not running backs that are stopping the Titans from, not winning a Super Bowl. The fact that they gave Derrick Henry money. It's really damn hard to get there. So it's if he did not have these injury history or had 1 year where he did ankles, I would be 100% lock this guy up. $14 million a year, because like he contributes to winning. But from my point of view, why this always made the most sense for the Giants to franchise tag him and play him on the franchise tag him, is guess what? You get to have your cake and eat it too. Saquon Barkley is playing for the New York Giants this year. Again, the only running back, I went back 15 years, the only running back, and I think maybe only running back to ever miss a season because he didn't want to sign the franchise tag was Le'Veon Bell. And again, like I said before, that was after a year of playing on the franchise tag for 1,900 yards, and then he got his deal. So Le'Veon Bell ended up working out a little bit, even though he missed out on $13.1 million that year. So did he end up making that money back? It's yet to be seen, because he could have been just as bad as he was on the Jets that 2018 year on the Steelers. But that's more of a case for Saquon to not sit out because of what happened to Le'Veon Bell. So he is not going to miss games for this year for the Giants. Like he did last year, he's going to contribute to winning as long as he's on the field. And guess what? You pay him less than you would have had been on a year-to-year basis, and you don't have to worry about him getting injured or worry. And again, it's cutthroat, but I'm also not going to cry for a guy that's getting $10.1 million guaranteed and has been one of the highest earning backs in the past 10 years because he was picked second overall.
Yeah, so in terms of not getting a contract extension that Saquon Barkley wants, you don't pay somebody for what they've done in the past. You're going to pay somebody for future production. It's tough to predict the future. It's tough to predict the future with with certain running backs. Saquon Barkley still is only 26 years old. Let's not act like he's 28, 29 here. But let's talk about this. 2018, he had 352 touches. That's a lot of touches for a running back. 5 years later, 2022, this past year on his contract year, on his age 25, 26 year, he had the same number of touches, 352 touches. I'm really glad he stayed healthy. Really glad he stayed healthy primarily for the whole season where he played those 16 games. Obviously, the 17th game was the Philadelphia Eagles game where none of the starters played. But also, Bobby, Saquon Barkley, despite missing a game last year, still found a way to lead the NFL in snaps amongst all running backs. 826 snaps for Saquon Barkley last year. Dalvin Cook, 817 snaps. Josh Jacobs, 789 snaps in second and third, respectively. All these guys played a full 17-game slate this year. Even when Saquon Barkley missed a game, still played the most amount of snaps. It's a lot of wear and tear that he had last year. He made it through the 16 games. He made it healthy. There was a clear discrepancy and drop-off towards the second half of the year, not only in efficiency, but also amongst usage in the months of kind of October and November. I don't want to predict fall off for Saquon Barkley, but it's also to predict that he's going to replicate the first half of what he did in 2022 for the remainder of a contract that he would want, which odds are that would be like a 3-year deal.
Well, there's already been fall off of Saquon Barkley. Now, Saquon Barkley is so good that even with the fall off, he's one of the best backs in the NFL.
He doesn't break tackles. He does not break tackles at nearly an elite running back should, nor does he break tackles at the same rate that he used to earlier in his career.
Well, that's what I'm going to say. Go look at 2018, 2019 highlight tapes. Like, they are some of the most amazing things I've ever seen a running back do. I'm talking like ever. Like, what he did was unreal. And while he was very good this year, he didn't have that. So that's not discounting what he did last season. What he did last season, but it worries you about the future with Saquon. Where it's like after that Titans game, we didn't really have all these long breakaway runs. We didn't have these make three guys miss, which again, it's hard to, because Saquon was so great, it's like you kind of expect that out of him, where most, 9 out of 10 backs you don't. But there's something there with that. So again, this is why I'm happy about this, is because I still get Saquon Barkley on my team and helping winning games like he did last year. And I know that Wolves, how many games would this team won last year without Saquon Barkley? I don't know. But I can also do that with a lot of people on the New York Giants team because the margin of error was so small for them. I could do that with Darius Slayton. Like, how many games does this team win without Darius Slayton? I could go through those games and make arguments that they lose 3 less games if they don't have Darius Slayton on the roster. That's how small their margin of error was. Obviously, Saquon's more important to that. But again, it's going forward. We don't want to be as reliant on Saquon Barkley to win games.
No, the Giants' offense was not a great offense last year. It was a good offense, but at times it was a bad offense. And breaking news, the times that the Giants' offense was at its worst is when it was relying on Saquon Barkley to be the sole catalyst of driving the offense.
When they were force-feeding him into box, like we talked about heavy box, they were force-feeding him in the heavy boxes and stuff, and it wasn't working. And it was only when they're like, all right, we're gonna work quick game drop back, we're gonna be efficient, and we're gonna give Saquon Barkley less volume. And that's when Saquon Barkley's at his best. Like, he was never meant to be a workhorse back. Like, we saw it in the second Commanders game, the playoff game versus the Vikings. Less volume is better for Saquon Barkley. Like, make every touch count.
Yeah.
Like the playoff game, he barely had any carries. Guess what? He was a lot more effective in that game than he was the Texans game, where he had 35 carries, but the only time the offense moved is when they threw the ball.
Can I break down the usage for you? Because I actually pulled up those numbers this morning for a video I made. I have it right here. Saquon Barkley weeks 1 to 12. 224 attempts, 992 yards, 4.43 yards per carry, 20 attempts per game, and 90 yards per game. Weeks 13 through 20. 71 attempts, 320 yards, 4.51 yards per carry, so slightly more efficient. 10 attempts per game, 45.7 yards per game. I think those numbers, Bobby, maybe not that low. I think 10, the difference between 10 attempts per game and 20 attempts per game, it's literally half. Good job, math pod Justin. I think it'll be maybe somewhere in the middle of kind of like a 13, 14 attempts per game-ish. But that was his usage towards the second half of the season. And at times when the Giants offense was looking like, it's pseudo best against, especially those 2 games against the Vikings, the Colts, Saquon Barkley was not getting a ton of carries. Granted, they pulled him early against the Colts. They pulled a lot of guys early against the Colts, but that's what his usage looked like towards the second half of the year. Half of what it was in the first.
And that's when Saquon Barkley is at his best, and we saw that with Pat Shurmur, where it wasn't getting the most carries, and they're getting the ball in his hand. Even though he's not like, the Christian McCaffrey receiver where he's doing all these things down the field, just getting him the ball and swing passes makes him is more effective than running him into an 8-man box with 7 blockers, running into those +1 boxes. So so Saquon, yeah. Does this team go to the playoffs without Saquon last year? Probably not. But that's why that's why they want to keep him. And guess what? The offers they gave him were fair. They were offering him even close to $13 million and probably $13 million with the $22 million guaranteed, which is 2 franchise tags. I just don't understand why Saquon turned this down.
I think the in-season offers were more fair than the off-season offers. And that's where LPG came on this show, and this was something that came out of left field that, it's like, oh, this is not typically a little nugget that you hear. I fully believe that Joe Shane was possibly a little teed off at Barkley, and it was kind of disrespectful that he declined those in-season offers. I fully believe that. And there was, if Joe Shane and Giants brass, if they were a little teed off that Saquon declined those in-season offers, that odds are it was very, very fair. then there was no way that any offseason offer was going to get close to what the in-season offer was. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I don't know, but the offseason offer is really good too.
But do you think the in-season offer was better than the offseason offer? Or offers?
It was offered $13 million per year. I don't know what the guarantees were. I don't know. But what I know is that the offer of $13 million per year with $22 million of it was more than fair. For the player that Saquon Barkley has been, that's a high average annual value, been third highest in the NFL, only after McCaffrey and Kamara. So a very high average annual value, but only 2 years of guarantees. That's where the Giants win on that, right? Where it wouldn't have been such a bad deal for the Giants to guarantee him for 2 years because we see him being here for another 2 years. You know, like I said, the only way, and that's where it's like he threw away $26 million through the first 2 seasons. You know, and the cap hit, and it probably would have been
did too. I mean, I think we haven't brought that up yet, and that's something that we have talked about this.
They just thought they were getting close to $16 million. That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's why what Saquon said at the end of the season was very strategic. And like, I'm not trying to reset the market. It was a great ploy because they weren't. They were trying to get at the top of it, though. And that's what, and I'm telling you, that's been my theory all along is that, hey, this has been about getting closer to $16 million per year. And then the guaranteed money Ryan Dunleavy put out was $19 million. I'm like, oh, maybe not. But then they raised it up to 22. Well, guess what? To me, I think it was always about that. And I think the only play that Saquon has after this is that the Giants either extend him, which what can he do? Like that was a tweet I had, Justin. Let's go through the three options. There's one option: he gets injured, doesn't play well, they don't tag him, he doesn't get the deal he wants. That's obviously worst case scenario for everyone involved. The other option: he plays really well again. There's nothing he can do good enough to not be in the same spot next year, right?
Because isn't it crazy that 26 feels a lot different than 27 and 28, where you're getting closer to that wretched 30 number. And I even feel like 28 and 29 is the new 30 if you're a running back. Where yeah, I agree with you. There's really nothing that he can do as long as the Giants have the franchise tag on their side and that number's not an astronomically large number. There's nothing that he's going to be able to do this year that's gonna want. Oh, we change our minds. We're gonna give you the 3-year deal you want.
So the only way he wins is that he plays well. The Giants don't franchise tag him either because like, hey, we don't want to go through this again, or they're like, hey, we value Xavier McKinney more so on this franchise tag, and he goes and gets another deal from another team. Which I don't think Saquon wants to do that, right?
No,
so that's where I'm puzzled. It's like I don't think that's what Saquon wants, and that's why I'm puzzled. Like, why didn't he? That's where I think his agency screwed him over. Is like they like put their heels in the ground and said, no, we're not gonna take less than what you offer originally or whatever.
It's crazy to me, man. Which is part of me. I kind of wanted to say this at the top too. Part of me was even thinking today, man, I understand the franchise tag is the best business decision for the Giants, is the best thing for the Giants. Only 1 year of guaranteed money, and if he misses 5-6 games this year because of an ankle, whatever, then they get to move on, and then they're done. They get to wipe their hands clean. That would suck, but they get to do it because that's what the franchise tag allows you to do. But wouldn't it almost just be easier? Get him here for 2 years, sign that deal that he maybe hates, but he'll show up for camp. Part of me thinks like that would just almost be easier than to have to deal with this for the remainder of the summer and just waiting for him to show. Because until he shows up, it will be a question on when or if he shows up.
The first week, it's going to be a huge question. It's going to be distraction the first week, but after that, they'll be here and there. But it's not going to be at the forefront of anybody's in the coaching staff, outside of Brian Daboll, or the players' minds. The next time it'll come back up will be when it's time, like camp's over and it's like, all right, now we're preparing for week 1. That's when it'll come back up. And luckily for a running back position where it's like you can kind of sign him and put him back. It's the same offense as last year, especially in the run game. That's going to be more so true. And I don't think he's going to be so far behind. We know he's going to be in shape. Yeah. That as long as you win games, team morale is going to be fine once he shows back up. Now, if they lose games, that's going to really boil and Saquon's anger is going to come out and that can bleed to the rest of the team. And I get it. But if they win games, team morale is going to be fine.
And if you lose games, no matter if Saquon Barkley is on the tag or not, it's going to ruin team morale.
Yeah, well, it could take it from not good to bad.
Yeah.
Which is, again, and which is like something we haven't seen Brian Dable have to deal with a losing team so far. Like it's a lot harder than dealing with the team that they won with last year. There's definitely some downside to this, but I was always on like less salary, less risk, get the player, to me, was always the best option. Why don't you read an ad and we'll talk about it if he can sit out, blah blah blah.
Yeah, we'll read an ad and then we'll talk about some other stuff. We'll make a change. We're live on YouTube too. Thanks for everybody hanging out. We have a new sponsor, Miracle Made. They sent us some sheets, and oh boy, have I been using them. Bobby Skinner's been using them, and they've made our sleeps so much better. And hey, this first question, I take this first question very seriously. Did you know that your temperature at night can have one of the greatest impacts on your sleep quality? Oh boy, yes, it can. There are some times where I'm waking up and I'm schwitzing, and I hate that. But Miracle Made sheets, they help control the temperature at night. And I also have my dog as well. Like, hey, I'm a good dog owner. My dog sleeps in my bed. Bobby's dog, Lucy, died of cancer. Rest in peace. Don't give your dog cigarettes. And I don't give my dog cigarettes because I let my dog sleep next to me. And I don't want my dog stinking up my bed. And good thing that Miracle Made has self-cleaning and designed for my skin, so it keeps my pores all nice and clean as well. Miracle Made is inspired by NASA. They use silver-infused fabrics and makes temperature-regulating bedding so you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. They're also luxurious. They give comfort and they give good quality stuff. So I want you to go to trymiracle.com/giants to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you could save over 40%. And if you use our promo code GIANTS at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/giants and use the code GIANTS to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40%. Again, that's trymiracle.com/giants to treat yourself. Thank you to Miracle Made for sponsoring the episode. You'll be glad you did.
Yeah, so to me, it's I think his agents really screwed this up. Like I think they thought they didn't read the market right. Like they thought they were going to get close to $16 million. I really do. And I had this argument last week is like Saquon asking for $16 million is not outlandish with the type of player he's been. But he was never going to get that because of the running back market, because of his injury history. And this is where it's like, I don't like, yeah. Do I always root for players to get their money when it's not the Giants? Yeah, because I always I want those guys to get money more so than owners saving money or whatever.
I root for Giants players even to get their money too. You said not the Giants.
Well, I'm saying I would like the Giants players to take up less cap space. Like I would have,
Right.
I really wish Daniel Jones was making $20 million per year, not 40.
That's not real life. I understand.
What I'm saying is I'm rooting for, like, am I rooting for Andrew Thomas to get his contract? Should he get, top of the league, reset the market when it's his turn? Yeah. But I don't want to reset the market by $6 million per year. But Monte Cristo, he tweeted out, Saquon Barkley is now set to be number 3 among active running backs in career earnings with $48 million without even signing an extension. So again, that's number 3 out of all active backs. And that's not including the money he will make in 2024 and beyond. So while, yeah, do you want guys to get their security down and stuff? He's also he's not, this isn't a pity case either, where it's like, he's now he's screwed. He's not some 6th-round running back who got ran to the ground, made $3.5 million over 4 years and now can't get a team. But here's what he needs to fire his agent.
Yes.
Like I have held out on saying that his agent's totally screwed himself to see, like, hey, maybe he ends up getting the deal he wants.
No.
They just played hardball until the end. Now, this is a huge L for his agency. Like they got to have egg on their face that they did not get a deal done for Saquon Barkley. Pollard and Jacobs also being on the running backs haven't been tagged a lot lately. it's been since Le'Veon Bell. If you don't include Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake was on the transition tag. Derrick Henry was tagged, but then signed a contract extension. So the last one on the true franchise tag was Le'Veon Bell, who again in his first year on the tag had over 1,900 yards on the ground and in the air, and then sat out 2018. But this year you got 3, and Pollard, Jacobs, and Saquon. Miles Sanders getting $7 million per year really hurt him, and that's where things kind of went sideways to where like, oh, this may not get done.
I hate to. We're kind of towards the end, right? So now I feel like I can talk about this. 2 things. Just people are very emotional, and rightfully so. Like, hey, if Saquon Barkley is your favorite player, you're not having a good day. But also the argument that also makes me lose my mind a little bit more, paying Daniel Jones did not prevent the Giants from not paying Saquon Barkley. Though those 2 things are very, very, very not related. And the fact that I think some people can't see it is a little frustrating, where also it leads to the problem of drafting him in the first place. Paying Daniel Jones was a necessity, because if the Giants don't pay Daniel Jones and he walks, or if the Giants tag Daniel Jones and they're giving him, what was that, $32 million?
$32 million, which would really stop them from getting Okereke, Waller, whoever.
You don't get Bobby Okereke, you don't get Darren Waller, you don't get those guys. You don't get A'Shawn Robinson, you don't get Nacho Nunez-Roches. Maybe you get Nacho. You don't get A'Shawn Robinson. A'Shawn Robinson's getting a little bit more money than most Giants fans would think if you were to poll them through the next 2 years. You don't get any of those guys if you have to franchise tag Daniel Jones, especially Bobby Okereke, which fans love Bobby Okereke, which I'm really excited to see Bobby Okereke. The value of what Daniel Jones brings to a team, and this isn't even that me saying Daniel Jones is awesome. It's just the value of what a capable, functioning quarterback brings to a team is tremendously more than what Saquon Barkley brings to this team. And this is not a shot at Saquon Barkley. This is, I think, how the game of football works. And we literally said in this podcast, the times where the Giants offense were at its worst and when they were losing football games is when they were overtly relying on Saquon Barkley. That is when they were at their worst. This is not a Daniel Jones versus Saquon Barkley discussion. This is not. That storyline, because you don't like Daniel Jones as a quarterback and you love Saquon Barkley as a running back, it's the only reason why you want to compare him. It needs to stop because they have nothing in common with each other. I'm sorry about that.
In the beginning of the season, like especially that first game of the season against the Titans, was like it was a bad Daniel Jones game, and Saquon carried that offense to a win. Even then, you had the 66-yarder to Sterling Shepard, but that was a bad Daniel Jones game. The second game of the year was more of a defensive win, and then after that, it was split pretty evenly of contributions. And kind of more so to DJ on it. You look at the really good Saquon games after that, the Jaguars game. Well, Daniel Jones was NFC Player of the Week then. Yep. The Bears game. Daniel Jones got hurt in that game, but he had the 2 long rushing touchdowns. Now, the argument for that is
the offense scored 12 points that game. So I would.
They scored more than what game? The Bears game?
Yeah. What game did they? The Bears game. Then they win 12-9.
No, that was. No, I don't know what game. I don't think we won any game 12-9. But that was the Bears. The Bears were the one team that was like flat out selling out to stop Saquon, and that helped them. But after that, it
was 20-12. Excuse me.
After that, like you said, that middle of the season lull, it wasn't being like, oh well, see, they can't rely on. It's like, no, they weren't relying on Daniel Jones. They were force feeding Saquon Barkley when it wasn't working. And it was hurting the offense. Like that Commanders tie bothered me so much. They were play actioning on 2nd and 13 and shit, and bad running on first down. And even the Texans game that they won was they gave Saquon 35 carries in that game. Go look at the scoring drives. They were all Daniel Jones passing like the ball down the field. That would have been like, if Daniel Jones had 300 passing yards, but all of his passing yards came on drives that didn't score, and Saquon Barkley had 3 rushes for 120 yards, and they all ended the scores. So, and then at the end of the season, when they were at their best offensively, is when they were running through that quick game drop back. And we always said, eventually they're going to have to work some drop back passing to make this offense successful for the season. And that's when Saquon's getting less volume. And that's when we saw Saquon being, with less volume, more efficient. And I think that's the road to there. You add some additions with Paris Campbell, Jalen Hyatt, Darren Waller, where it's all right, it's not going to be as reliant on Saquon. We can't do another season of it being the offense being that reliant on Saquon. And hopefully that makes Saquon more of an efficient player, which I'm excited. I'm excited to see this offense with all those guys together. I'm excited to see Saquon not have to get 20 carries a game. I want to see him get, like you said, 13 to 14, get him, 5, targets through the air, and do more with that. Now let's talk about camp. So he's 100% not going to be there at the start of camp, and probably won't be there for the first few weeks. Now, we're going to hear this noise, like Ryan Dunleavy finally just tweeted out. I've been saying he's not going to miss any games. Now, after talking with people, I'm not so sure that he's saying that he could miss games.
He's not. There's
no precedent for it. There's no one has done it. No running back has missed games besides Le'Veon Bell, and that was a year after being on the franchise tag. And again, he's throwing away money by doing that. You're literally throwing money away by missing games.
So again, Le'Veon Bell did that after being franchise tagged the second time.
Yes. Okay. And Saquon Barkley is a team guy. That stuff matters to him. He's been working out with Daniel Jones still, recently. He's just not going to miss games. Now they're gonna threaten it. They're gonna put all types of signals out through the air. They might miss games, and that's what they should do. And they should make this as uncomfortable as possible for the Giants if you're from Saquon's camp. And you should.
What's the point of threatening to miss games now when there's nothing we could do?
So they don't do this again next year.
Perform well next year. That's your leverage.
Yeah, but then the Giants can just franchise tag again. But no, your leverage then is, hey, I played well. Want to do this again? You want to make this a pain in the ass? And there has been a second year where guys do miss games. So,
you don't think that? I mean, I don't think he's going to miss any games. But even if it's 1 week, even if it's week 1 against Dallas, that could be a way to stick it to him.
No, I mean, you're still throwing away a nice chunk of change by missing that game.
Yeah.
I mean, again, show me the running backs who have missed games on their first time being franchise tagged. Go look at all the franchise tags. People don't miss games. They miss camp, and they threaten that they're going to miss games. It happens every single time. So now again, don't be mad at Saquon. He should, make this as uncomfortable as possible for the Giants. But missing games, all that does for him is throw away money. Yeah. Because then he doesn't get paid, the per game basis of whatever, the $10.1 million that it is.
Yeah. We haven't even mentioned this guy's name once throughout this entire episode. As somebody who really adamantly disagreed with taking a running back number 2 overall in 2018, I am really glad. The Saquon Barkley decision, and whatever decision that was going to be when the time came for Joe Schoen, I'm really happy that Joe Schoen made this particular decision. I would have also been happy if it was a 2-year deal that was slightly more than the franchise tag. I would have been fine with that too, to even avoid this. But if this is what it had to come to, and franchise tagging and not caving, and even if John Mara wanted to come in here and meddle a little bit, give him this, he deserves the respect, the franchise player off the field, yada yada yada. This is the right thing, and I think this is the correct way that you build a football team. Saquon Barkley is still here. That's something that's lost in this convo. Ideally, I think he will be, and we just talked about that. Saquon Barkley is still a member of the New York Football Giants. We didn't cut him. We didn't trade him. We didn't just not re-sign him to not have him on the team. He's on the team. So I think celebrate that.
Yeah, but just for the next month, there will be the threat of him not playing games this year, which again I think is an empty threat. I would be shocked.
While you're working out with Hodgins or all the Jones and Arizona,
every single workout that he's been able to be at, he's been at.
Showing up to this football camp with this teammate and yada, yada, yada. Why are you doing
So, yes, it's Saquon Barkley. I'm 100% expecting to be there week 1. Not expecting to see him at training camp, and it'll be a distraction. But I think some of that stuff gets a little overblown with distractions. As long as the guy is not, like, I don't want to go into, like, what counts as, like, a cancer and whatnot. But I don't see Saquon being that. So, and once you get in the camp, I mean, camp sucks for players. So that's going to be their focus, is getting through another day of practice and workouts and the heat and all that, and meetings and all that stuff.
Saquon deserves to be paid. Saquon deserves to be paid over overpaid Jones. Bobby, where's Saquon Barkley ranked among running backs that are getting paid right now at $10.1 million?
Oh, I don't know on a per year basis. I think it's 6. But how much money he's ranked and just making money in his career, he's 3rd out of active backs.
Okay. So
that's not all time, but that's out of active backs.
I hate to be reacting to YouTube comments, and I'm sorry I'm doing this, but odds are a lot of people are listening to this, maybe screaming at their phones, screaming at their cars, screaming on the train. Bobby, Justin, you guys are dumb. Saquon Barkley deserves to be paid more or deserves to be paid, more than Daniel Jones. Well, there you go.
Okay, well, the Giants deserve to do what's best for them.
Yes.
So, I mean, is there anything else that we want to hit on? And hopefully this is a better situation for a running back this season. Like, hopefully the offensive line's better, right? Hopefully the passing game is better. Like, let's make playing football a little easier on Saquon Barkley. Let's get through another, and that's where it's, because he's coming off a healthy year. That's where that's injuries, man. Like, the injuries really worry me with this guy in particular. It's not me. It's not the running back doesn't matter. Running backs wear down. This guy in particular worries me with. And not just missing games, but we've seen in the past that he's struggled when banged up. Coming back from the injury in 2019, he was didn't look very good. All of 2021, he looked horrible. Horrible. This past year, dealing with the shoulder, he was not the same guy until they started giving him a little less volume. So I'm 100% confident Saquon Barkley is going to show up. He's going to play hard. It would not help him at all. The only thing that not playing games and all that stuff would do is just be sticking it to the Giants. And I don't think he's going to put his money and his future at stake to do that. Maybe if he gets tagged a second time, that could happen.
I'm glad Saquon Barkley is still a Giant. I'm glad that Joe Schoen did the most responsible and the best thing for my favorite football team. And I'm really looking forward to seeing Saquon Barkley back in blue this year with an offense and a team that is improved from last year. This will be the best situation and the best team that Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones have played on with each other throughout their entire career so far. And I'm really excited to see that.
Yeah. And Saquon Barkley, Joe Schoen offered Saquon Barkley a deal, said, hey, if you don't take this now, we go to that franchise tag deadline, then this is off the table. So that's where I kind of don't feel bad for Saquon Barkley. But we'll be back on Friday. I'm sure we'll clean up some of this. Rookies are reporting to camp Tuesday morning. So either when you're listening to this or tomorrow when live. So if there's any rookies like Daniel Bellinger was last year on PUP, we'll talk about that. So we appreciate you guys. We will see you on Friday. Until then, let's go Big Blue.